Matt Mosley, Ed Werder, Doomsday Podcast, right out here at the Staybridge Suites. Oh, these suites are nice. We're surrounded. We got the field behind us.
The weather's remarkable. We have to go back to the Texas hothouse here pretty soon.
This is let people dream that we remain here. We may remain here. We still have not gone to catch a flight, but it's been fun here in Oxnard. And Ed, today after his time on the podium, which much like Bill Parcells, Parcells and most coaches have even Garrett, they gave plenty of time to the media. I have noticed that this head coach does not like doing the walk off. But he does give the media a good amount of time, answers questions, very congenial. We'll see after they lose a few games if he's still like that.
Oh, you think that's going to happen?
I thought that was it might happen at some point. I thought it was a cool thing on Wednesday when he was doing the rest of the media in his public news conference, and he walks down the ramp and he just came straight into our studio. I thought that was kind of neat.
It's quite a place that we've arranged to have here.
Yeah.
Most people don't know we're here. We're squatting, kind of, but they allow that in California, I believe.
Who doesn't know we're here?
You could be a squatter. No, it's interesting that I think Brian Schottenheimer has really been true to himself. He is very insightful in a way that few head coaches that the Cowboys have been. He was a guy who was a hot candidate, 10 years ago, early in his career. And he turned down opportunities to be the head coach with other franchises. I know Buffalo and the Jets were two teams that offered him the opportunity to be a head coach, and he turned them down. And some of the people on his friends in the coaching profession, really questioned him, like, "What are you waiting for, Shotty? It's never going to be perfect." And here he is now, all those years later. Now he's a first-time head coach at age 51. The Cowboys are the only team in the conference that hasn't played an NFC Championship game since 1996. In 1996, Brian Schottenheimer was a backup quarterback for the Florida Gators the last time Dallas played in an NFC title game. This is Jerry's 10th head coach, or the 10th head coach in Cowboys history. Jerry's 9th. I'll tease you with this. The last 50-year-old head coach with no NFL head coaching experience to be hired and win a Super Bowl with that team was Barry Switzer. That's what's in play here for Brian Schottenheimer.
Oh, goodness, it has happened.
30 years ago.
With the Cowboys. I just talked to Barry the other day, doing great, sounding great, and he's one of the funniest human beings you'll ever cross paths with. Okay, it is time now to share with you our exclusive 20-minute sit-down with the head football coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That is Brian Schottenheimer.
Well, as our the Doomsday Podcast visit to Cowboys training camp in Southern California, Oxnard to be specific, winding its way down, we have our best guests yet.
Wow.
Yeah. We've got a head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. It's interesting that there were 6 other teams that made head coaching hires this year. All of them went outside the building to hire a coach, but not the Cowboys. The Cowboys are the only one to promote an assistant. You've been an assistant for 25 years, employed by 9 different teams. You're a head coach in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys for the first time at age 51. Jerry said at the introductory press conference, this is as big a risk as you can take. Someone who has no head coaching experience. The last time the Cowboys had a first-time head coach calling the plays was Jason Garrett in 2012. So you now have 2 responsibilities this year that you didn't have last year, and that's being a first-time head coach and calling plays for Dak Prescott for the first time in your career. What are your expectations in those 2 roles, and how challenging is that to combine those 2 things?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. Really, this is seriously, it's awesome to be with you guys today. No, I mean, to me, number one, you have to break them up, right? First and foremost, you're the head coach. There's issues that come across your desk, and you have to set the theme and the tone of the program and what you're trying to do. Culture's been huge for me. The connection piece has been huge for me. So that's one bucket of my job. And I think, again, I'm an elite communicator. I'm able to communicate with people and connect with them. And, I'm able to have hard conversations. That's very easy for me, probably because I had a head coach that was a father, and he would come sit me down and he'd stare at me under those big glasses of his, and he'd stare through my soul. And I was like, okay, this is the way it's supposed to work. So I kind of learned that. And then the second part of it is, being the play caller, being the guy really involved with Dak and the whole offense. And to me, that's the thing that it comes very simple, very natural.
Right.
I've done it. Yeah, I've called play for 14 years in this league. I got to find my rhythm with Dak and with this group and with the piece that we have, and the addition of George and all that stuff. But for the most part, like I really do, I've got certain times in my day that I have to put aside being the head coach, and that's talking to Nick Sorensen and Matt Eberflus and that. And there's times where I'm like, nope, I'm putting that away for a little bit because I got to go to this quarterback meeting. I got to go do the install to the offense. And it's a time management thing. And luckily for me, I've got some great people working with me, and I'm pretty good at time management. Yeah, it's been going really good so far.
It's hard for you to leave that offense, though, isn't it? Like yesterday, you're in the middle of it. That's where you're the most comfortable and excited and everything. I do want to bring up Sanjay Lal is a guy we got to know because he was here and he coached with you. And he said that you did a cool thing, that you reached out when you were out of football briefly to several coaches that you had coached with, and you wanted to know, what can I do to improve myself? And I just kind of wonder why you chose to do that and like what you got out of that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you bringing that up. I actually got the idea from DQ. DQ did the same thing. Basically you find somebody that you trust. It's someone generally that's got knowledge of, people, and people are willing to talk to. And so, I spent, really a lot of time, talking to this person. It was Rhett Lewis. And Rhett, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing that. And he basically said, hey, who do you want me to reach out to? And what are the rules of engagement? I said, I gave him a list of people that I trusted and believed in, players, coaches, and just said, tell him to give you the truth. Shotty's good at this. Shotty sucks at that. Shotty needs help with this. Shotty doesn't do this. And, those 6 months or so that I was kind of out before I came here as a consultant, I literally sat and read through every single one of those things. And some of them were really hard to read. But if they came back multiple times, I was like, okay, this is probably real. And, I think, anyone in a leadership position or anyone that's really driven to be the best that they can be, why wouldn't you do that? Was it fun all the time? No, it wasn't fun reading some of those things that people thought. But what I loved was the honesty and the transparency. And they didn't put names on it. They didn't ask them, hey, Ed Werder said this about you, do. I just knew it was someone from those, whatever it was, 40 to 50 people that said those things. And so I wasn't pissed at Ed because he said, I'm a loser. But it was like more of, okay, hey, Shotty, did this really, really well. Maybe he needs to work on this. And I took it as constructive criticism, no different than when I'm talking to the staff or the players about things that we need to improve on.
When last season ended, finished 7-10, injury depleted roster, seemed like Jerry and Mike were going to figure out a way to continue their partnership. At what point did it become obvious to you that you were a legitimate candidate to replace Mike, who brought you here? You've got a long history.
Sure.
Was that awkward at all for you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I was no different than you, Ed. I figured that they were going to work it all out. I'll be quite transparent. I was planning on leaving because I wanted to go call the plays someplace else. And sometimes when your contract expires, you have those opportunities. So, I was planning on, okay, Mike, hey, good luck with everything. And I was, surprised when it didn't work out. And talking to Jerry and being around it, sounds like they just couldn't work out the years and all that stuff and the business part of it. But, after he and I had a chance to talk after the season ends, which is very normal, you go and you talk about the offense and, hey, here's where we did good. Here's where we need to be better, all those things. And then I left. I went home back to Nashville. And a couple of days later, got the call that, hey, Mike and Jerry had decided to go their separate ways. And my phone rang and it was Jerry and, hey, going to go through the process. And, what do you got going? And we talked through some different things. And then another phone call happened, and then another phone call happened, and they were going through the process, and I was talking to people. And I think after, I flew down for my first interview after a couple of the guys that had already come in, Salah and Leslie Frazier and those guys that all come in, when I was interviewing, I was kind of like, okay, this is a real chance. And of course, I'm a very confident person. I never shy away from the fact I'm a really damn good coach, and great leader. But you put me in a room with people, I usually can sell myself and my vision. And when the meetings went about 7 hours the first day, I was like, okay, either they're bored and they're just, or like, damn, I really got a shot at this thing. So
You said, I'm sure your history with Dak in the 3 years, certainly played into your candidacy. But beyond that, you mentioned the vision, and you've talked about wanting to be a physical, running, defense-oriented football team, which is how the Jones family, that's the way this team was structured when they won Super Bowls back in the 90s. Why is that the way you want to play?
well, I think it's the way you're set up to play now in this league. When you look around the league and you look at the defensive lines, and I mean, I think it's every week. I mean, honestly, every week you're like, number one pick, first round pick, second round pick, first round pick. Like guys come off the bench, first round pick. Defensive lines have gotten so damn good and explosive that if you're not a team that can run the football and control the line of scrimmage, those are the two biggest determining factors to me. Can you take care of the football on offense and take it away on defense? And can you own the line of scrimmage? Those are the first two things we talk about. And so to me, I was raised in that. I mean, I'm not Marty Ball. Okay, I'm not Marty Ball. Fans, I'm not Marty Ball. But again, those principles haven't changed in really 100 whatever years of the NFL, because off those run plays, you have what? Play passes. And those play passes usually create what? Explosives. And so, again, I know Rex was ground and pound and Marty Ball and all those things. And I literally take a lot of pride in being a coordinator of two teams that have led the league in rushing, with the Jets once and with Seattle once, 2018 and I think 2008 or 9. We led the league in rushing. And I'm proud of both playoff team.
Yeah.
Did Marty stick with those glasses for like a long periods of time, like the same pair?
He did. Coke bottle glasses. He did. Yeah, he always had those. And literally he'd come in and we'd be talking and he'd kind of have his eyes down and he'd be making a note and he'd just literally look. He wouldn't raise his head. He would just literally tilt his eyes and you'd be like, oh, shit, I'm in trouble now. Because what's he getting ready to say? But yeah, he had those all the time. Blind as a bat. He was blind as a bat.
It's interesting that, last year for the first time in NFL history, we're talking about the run game and the emphasis you're placing on that. The first time in NFL history, the top 6 teams in rushing offense made the playoffs. Everybody talks about the quarterback, but the top 6 rushing teams in the NFL made the playoffs. Does that give further justification to the approach you're taking in creating the identity of this team?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, quarterback's incredibly important. We know that. We have a great one in Dak. But I would say that, you look at those teams that led the league in rushing, they were scoring points because you should score points, but they were also probably controlling the ball, right? If you're running the ball well, you're controlling the ball. But there's a correlation. And the correlation is if you're physical, you can run the football, you can control the clock, your play passes should be great. And I'm not surprised by that at all.
When you communicate with Jerry and Steven, like you said you have about Micah, is it the consistent message of simply sort of, let's get this done? Or is there more nuance to it? Like, what are you trying to convey as a coach? Because obviously you need maybe your best player on the team or one of the best players on the team.
Well, you're right. It's no different than how Jason Garrett, in what proved to be his last year, right, got Jerry to sign Ezekiel Elliott, who was holding out. It was, hey, I'm going into my last year. I need my best player. You're going into your first year. You need your best defensive player.
Yeah, I would say to this point, when we talk, literally, we talk about a lot of different things. We obviously don't just talk about Mike. We have an entire 91-man roster that we deal with. I listen. I ask questions. I get the business side of this. I mean, you guys will remember the name, but people on the podcast probably won't, depending on your age group. But like, I remember Chip Banks back in Cleveland. He held out. I mean, this is 1983, 84. I was like 10 years old. I'm like, what's a holdout? And they're like, well, he wants a little contract and this and that. And so, like, this is nothing new. We're the Cowboys. People love to talk about us. But at the end of the day, we have great conversations and we talk about different things. And right now, my main focus is focusing on, hey, I expect this to get done. When it gets done, it's going to get done. I can't put any more effort into it because I got 91 guys I got to get ready to go play a game. And that's what my focus is.
I want to ask you just kind of a game management question. We talked about how you want to play stylistically. And then I think we need to finish with the two big influences in your career, Pete Carroll and your father.
Sure.
But my question about what kind of game management we expect to see from you. There's been a move in the NFL, especially among really the most successful teams. Washington, Detroit, Philly, Kansas City, Buffalo, they go for it on fourth down a lot. How do you see yourself addressing that situation?
Great question. Fair question. Tough question to answer here in Oxnard on July, August, whatever.
In 3 weeks.
Yeah, no doubt. But I think it depends on who you're playing. Ryan Fear's guy handles a lot of our game management stuff. He's incredible. He's been my right-hand guy, since I took this job, but he's been a voice in Mike and I's ear for the last couple of years. So he's got a great feel for it. But again, I think a lot of factors come into it. Early in the game, hey, maybe you're going for more of those opportunities late in the game. Maybe you're taking the points. Hey, how's the defense playing? So I'm probably right in the middle, to be honest with you. I'm not conservative. I'm not over the top, like Dan Campbell. He's gone for some things. It's like, whoa, okay. But I understand why Dan went for 2 a couple of years ago against us, right? I get it. It was kind of a shootout. It was back and forth. He's like, look, we just went all the way down the field 90 yards. I'm going to put this game away. And so I think, each situation is a little bit different, but I'm very comfortable that, with myself and Ryan and, Flus will be great and all the coordinators will have an input.
Did you want to ask the Pete Carroll question?
Yeah, just about Pete Carroll. You brought him up the other day, and I thought that was interesting. He asked you, he said, oh, you're a football savant, but what do you really believe in? And I've been kind of curious, what would you say now? I would imagine now you have verbatim, exactly.
Yeah.
It was a soul-searching kind of crossroads moment for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. And again, I thought, man, I'm a really good coach. I'm going to be, I'm the coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. Let's go. And I crushed the interview. He offered me the job, and I get in there and he hit me right between the eyes. I remember going, whoa, because I didn't know. I could hem and haw. Oh yeah, well, I like to run the ball, but I like, and now it starts with the central theme of our program, which is compete every day. And then you get into kind of our mantra, which again, it's all about the ball. You have to own the line of scrimmage. You want to attack with your playmakers, and we want to be multiple. And so to me, those things never change. Our players hear those messages, and how I know we're doing a good job as a coaching staff of getting our players to buy into those things is when I read the experts or the excerpts of their talks and their interviews. They're using those things, and they're talking about the things that we believe in. And so it was a really aha moment for me that I'm very grateful to Pete for hitting me between the eyes.
Did he influence you more than your father, you think, overall?
Different, but I would say probably, yeah. I was a young man growing up with my dad. I also wanted my dad to be my dad. I didn't want just him to be, a guy that I learned from. So probably, I think that's fair to say. And I'm much more like Pete than I am like my dad.
Your dad, Marty, coached 4 teams, went to the AFC Championship game 3 times. He's the only person in the history of the league with 200 head coaching wins who's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Is there any thought that you're going to bring your family's name to prominence again, presumably for a long period of time, that maybe you can still somehow create conversation about your dad's Hall of Fame candidacy?
Yeah, I think, look, hey, my dad's legacy is strong. He's, like you said, you've quoted his deal. I would put his legacy up there against anybody in the league because of the people he's impacted. And that's what I want to do. Do I want to win a Super Bowl? Absolutely. Do I think we're going to here? I do. When does that happen? I can't tell you. I hope it's this year. But at the end of the day, I also want to impact the young men that are under my leadership and the coaches as well and help those guys develop. But again, my dad's got a gold jacket as far as a father and a leader of men. And I get reminded of that every day or every game day because people come up to me out of the blue and, hey, can I just share with you for 30 seconds the impact that your dad had on me? And that, to me, still makes me very emotional thinking about it.
What was the first camp you ever went to with him? Do you remember?
I do. It was up in Lakeland in Cleveland, Ohio. And it was probably 84. Ernest Biner and Mack, were on the team. Yeah, remember those two? Two backs, first 2 backs to ever rush for 1,000 yards each. Both they had 2 guys rush for 1,000, Ernest Biner and Kevin Mack. Marty Ball. And another playoff team.
You think he would think Oxnard's a little too plush, or whether it's he's too perfect? What do you think his thoughts would be on Oxnard?
Well, I'll say this. He's a golfer. He was a golfer, so I could see him on the off days jumping over the thing here. But we were literally 1 year in San Diego when we were together. we were at UCSD San Diego, right in La Jolla. And he did feel like it was a little bit too cool for him. Like, yeah, hey, we got to go a little longer today, man. Yeah, I'm just worried about our conditioning. And the guys were like, oh, here we go. Yeah, Marty Ball's back. So,
And we know you've already said if you win the Super Bowl that you expect to win here, your dad's going to get a ring.
absolutely.
I'm sure he's proud of the way you present yourself, the impact you've had on people, and what you've accomplished becoming a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah. He's very proud. He's looking down on me for sure. And I think that's one of the best things that that motivates me to continue to do a good job. And the Schottenheimer name is very important to me.
You did this with me 2 years ago when you were an offensive coordinator, not calling plays. It's a different thing when you're a head coach. We're grateful that your willingness to sit down with us and explain your point of view and what's important to you. Thanks very much.
Appreciate you guys' time. Seriously. Thank you. Yep, absolutely. You guys enjoy the time out here.
Thank you.
All right, Ed, you know, I thought we covered a lot of topics there. Needed to get into Micah. You know, I had been reading some excerpts from things he had said earlier in camp. And one thing he said is that when he has conversations with Stephen and Jerry, he has real conversations and he shares what he thinks, and he does talk to them about Micah. And so what I was trying to get at is, okay, what are you trying to convey? And he a little bit danced around in the sense that, hey, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about a lot of other things. But, you know, you jumped in at some point, which I'm fine with, because I think you were making the point that, hey, this kind of happened with Jason Garrett.